Think about title insurance as the only insurance you buy that insures against something that's happened in the past. Where usually you buy insurance against things that might happen in the future. So, and it's a pretty weird industry if you think about it, but at the same time it's kind of a needed industry because they go in there, they insure the transaction, they do the research, so they're kind of like data aggregators to a certain degree. With my background in finance, I pulled up all the 10Ks of the 5 largest title companies. That's a publicly, document each publicly traded company has to file with the SEC. What I found really interesting from that research is that out of all of them, they spent $0 on research and development. And Goldman Sachs released a report in 2016 that basically they did an estimate that blockchain could save the industry about $4 billion a year, and they're not doing any research on how to make that happen to pass those savings down to the consumer. It's crazy. So, my name is David Howie, and I am the CEO and founder of Tellus Title Company, and we are developing a new blockchain protocol for the real estate industry. Our real estate division, which is Sarah Real Estate, I'm still the CFO of that company, and that's been in existence since 2014. And as CFO, I realized that, as the company grows and scales, difficulties in routing payments, and that's when I first heard about Ethereum and the whole concept of smart contracts and how we could automate payment distributions and things like that. And so my job is to basically route payments, and there's no automated system to do that just yet. So I began to kind of come up with the concept of how we could do that in the real estate field. And so in 2016, my son was born, and I went on paternity leave, and I had 6 weeks to kind of take a deep dive into blockchain. My daughter went to Whitney, and my 2 stepsons went to Lincoln High School, and we have 2 other little ones right there. And so I can give those 2 little ones a lot of credit for giving me a lot of time off from work and to learn about blockchain. And this is actually one of the first Hyperledger meetups in San Francisco. The Impact VC Summit. I named the company Tellus Title because Tellus is actually Latin for earth. And I came up with a new protocol that links essentially geocoordinates with blockchain. So if you have a blockchain system, you can create a 3D mapping system to then geocoordinate any sort of reference point anywhere in the world. And so that is pretty much the premise behind our protocol logic, and that's what we're working on. So we just released our white paper, and here's the abstract. I won't read it verbatim, but you guys are free to download a copy of it from our website, www.tellustitle.com. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out. We would welcome any feedback or comments. Essentially, the technology already exists today to do a highly accurate 3D rendering of the physical world. Attach it to a fixed wing aircraft and scan a city and have a whole 3-dimensional model rendered with just a few passes of an aircraft over a city. The problem with that is that's super data rich, and blockchains are not really designed to be data intensive. So with our protocol, what we've designed is basically with just one point, you can reference any point in the world. And so you don't need a super rich data cloud to tell you exactly what you're talking about. You just need one point if you can calculate a point. And what we've done is there's a well-known mathematical principle called the centroid. And if you can define the shape of anything, you can calculate the centroid. And our hypothesis is basically that with this point in space, the centroid, if it's attached to your blockchain structure, you can then go back and search the blockchain with geofences, and you can pull back like a chain of title, or you can pull back a bunch of transactions that have happened that are time-stamped and verified throughout the network. We subscribe to an MLS, which is basically a
data nightmare.
Yeah, huge data nightmare. And there's like 700 plus MLSs. So you have 700 centralized databases with no connectivity. And it creates a big problem for
even within a big city like LA, they have
multiple.
a joint, I happen to know a lot about this part, so I was gonna ask you if MLS was kind of part of this. This is fascinating.
Yeah.
But yeah, they don't talk to one another even within a kind of a group of data. They still are separate. They still maintain their database separate. It's, anybody in coding would think, are you kidding me? What,
Right.
how is this even possible?
Right. And even some MLSs are for-profit companies, so they have really no interest or desire to create a community of,
Or let anybody see their data. It's
Right.
ridiculous.
they want it, you have to pay for it.
Yeah.
And everyone subscribes to it, gives them the data, and then you have to pay to access. It's crazy. So so this would be a solution to the MLS problem. There's an organization called I think it's the Real Estate Standards Organization, and they're instituting standards for MLS data, and they already have latitude and longitude as two of the data fields. There's already a bill going through the state Senate Assembly to legalize blockchain, but it's a pretty vague bill. So I mean, the legislation has to be in place, the network has to be in place, people have to be using it. Ultimately, that would be the ideal situation where every party in the ecosystem, every party in the transaction that has to interact with each other, if they do it on-chain, then that's the most perfect solution. If there's certain things that happen off-chain, title companies use recording services, so we could require that the recording service that goes to the county to record documents then maybe send a signal on the blockchain saying that this package has been recorded, and then that's the last thing that needs to happen before you can disperse funds. So that would be like a trigger for a smart contract to go ahead and distribute funds. The idea is to build a protocol layer blockchain from scratch. Most projects out there, they will probably clone an existing chain and make some modifications or tweaks or go from there. To build something from scratch is a pretty ambitious project. So we're still weighing out the pros and cons. What do we really need for a proof of concept? How much is it really going to cost to build something like this? I mean, the value is certainly there. I mean, if there's an asset class worthy of its own blockchain, I mean, real estate's it, right? Sure. Yeah, all the real estate in the world's worth more than all the crypto in the world. Go-to-market strategy is actually just to open up an escrow company and offering services to escrow crypto for the facilitation of the transfer of real estate. So it's kind of a baby step to where we want to go with our protocol. But in the meantime, we can charge, probably a point or so for that service because it's kind of a specialized service. And we believe that there's pent-up demand. So we believe that there's people with crypto that would like to diversify into real estate and vice versa. So facilitating that trade that's our go-to-market strategy for revenue. And if we can build a sustainable business that does that, and at the same time have basically a team of engineers developing this, that's kind of what we're thinking right now.
Cool.